Recently, there have been no new local cases of COVID-19, but for Chen Hongyou, director of the Center for Storage Management of Bacterial Viral Strains of Shanghai Municipal CDC, this was an especially anxious time. Developments in the microscopic world of the virus were moving in a disturbing direction.
指挥中心这边就是不回家的，就是24小时在这边带班的。万一有什么事情呢，就是有一个快速的反应。
This is the SARS-CoV-2 virus sample dispatched by Pudong New Area CDC. The moment a sample arrives, Chen Hongyou and his colleagues get to work testing it.
如果是病毒发生变异，可能会导致几个严重的后果，比如说我们的疫苗是否对变异的病毒有效，比如说我们打过疫苗之后产生的抗体是否能中和变异的病毒，那么这个需要一定的实验来判断。
2 years into the pandemic, it was becoming clear that COVID-19's initial clash with humanity in early 2020 was merely the opening salvo. Humanity had to face up to the fact that the mutability of SARS-CoV-2 would make the ongoing pandemic one of the most complex public health crises in history. Using all available scientific resources and expertise to contain the virus would be more important than ever. As early as 1974, the World Health Organization began promoting the expanded program on immunization around the world. Across the globe, forces were being joined to build an immunity barrier against infectious diseases.
疫苗可以说是人类历史上最伟大的发明之一，人类抗击传染病的最有力的武器。
过去我们通过疫苗，人类取得了很大的成就，天花漏虫咱们这个地球就消灭了。
将来要建立这个免疫屏障的话，接种率越高的话，那么这个免疫屏障形成的就越牢固。
With the rapid progress made in vaccine development, most countries around the world have made it an urgent priority to roll out COVID-19 vaccination plans.
Aki gyors, az életet ment, aki lassú, az életet veszít.
После первого укола, после первой прививки, температура была у нее 38, на следующий день 37 с небольшим, и все. После второго укола, второй прививки тоже температура немного поднялась, но и все, сошло потом на нет. Чувствует себя хорошо, и титры высокие.
For those getting their jabs during this period, priority at such facilities goes to people over 60 years old.
希望大家呢能够有机会接种疫苗的时候呢，应种尽种。
By the end of March 2021, China was producing around 5 million doses of vaccine per day. The completion of its nationwide COVID-19 vaccination program was in sight. China's immunity barrier against the pandemic was about to become a reality.
那我们说一开始，我们先给一线人员，像我们这种做疾控的医生、海关、机场 工作的人员。第二层呢，就是在做这个社交活动比较多的警察、学校，然后就是重点人群。我们其他重点人群，我就现在呼吁，比如说老年，这么一层一层递进，现在全人群。
Beijing was one of the first cities in China to roll out a vaccination program. By March 2021, the city had administered almost 8 million doses of vaccine. The time had now come to extend the vaccination initiative to people aged 60 and above. Now they would have the added burden of reassuring a more risk-averse age group, allaying fears about side effects and chronic underlying conditions.
我就想咨询一下，我看上面有个甲状腺，有甲状腺病的这个要注意。
This is Ms. Li's third visit to Fengtai District's largest vaccination station. With several health issues to worry about, she's understandably hesitant to take the plunge and get the vaccine.
那个情况平稳吗？如果平稳就可以。
哦，好，
需要再去查一下，看看T3、T4。因为咱们打疫苗是自愿嘛，居民他有疑惑，我们就解惑呗。他呢心里没有疑惑了，他自然就会打。
Zhang Ying is a doctor at Jingta Community Hospital in Fengtai District. When universal vaccination began, she was put in charge of consultation at the vaccination stations.
我们主要是负责就是疫苗的运输、疫苗的管理，还有疫苗的分配，以及跟2、3级医院协调，比如前面登记啊，然后后边的那个接种啊。这311支你也给他拿过去，你就给他放到吧台。
Temporary community vaccination points, as well as Beijing Fengtai Stadium stations, are within Zhang Ying's remit. With so much to do, she's on the go from 7 in the morning to 7 at night.
"我们最多的时候是每天接种3000多人。如果说是8个小时的话，那你就相当于1分钟就要一个。
At the same time, 330 mobile vaccination vans are roving the city. It's this flexible mobile vaccination strategy that will ensure the last leg of this marathon is completed.
没有严重的过敏反应都可以打。
Zhang Ying has already forgotten how many times she's answered the same questions.
抵抗力，您觉得哪个更合适呢？
那行吧，那听主任的吧。
其实他们不需要有这种顾虑，因为咱们用的是最安全的灭活病毒。这个病毒它本身就是个死的，这个死病毒怎么会侵犯到循环系统、呼吸系统呢？ 所以每一个来的这个老人，我们都会解释，就像高血压160、100以下，空腹血糖13.8以下，每个医生都已经背成歌了。
But some people need more reassurance than others. It's Ms. Li's 4th visit to Zhang Ying Station.
没事啊，你这个T3、T4是正常的 ，TSH 1.6也是正常范围，所以没关系，可以打。
Ms. Li finally puts aside her doubts and gets the vaccine. Success at last.
谢谢你了，走嘞。希望这些对有些顾虑的人不要那么顾虑那么大，这是一件好事，利人利己的好事，也利国家。
你不打，你自己保护不了，家人保护不了，其他人也保护不了。
这得相信政府，相信国家，对不对？那有什么害怕的？这对你好，有好处。
我们给他一点信心，就迈过了这个心理上的坎儿。
我觉得对于每个人来讲，还是应该为了保护你自己，也为了保护家人，为了保护这个社会，还是应该去评估自己的风险，应该去积极的响应政府的号召，去接种这样一个疫苗。
In the beginning of June 2021, more than 700 million COVID-19 vaccine doses had been administered in China, with nearly 50 million people aged 60 and above having received the vaccine. But then, there came a setback, a new outbreak triggered by a mutant strain.
同一个餐厅内，第3代感染者黄某与第4代感染者卢某先后走进卫生间，在没有任何身体接触的情况下，14秒就完成了病毒传播。
In just 14 seconds, the virus had leapt from one person to another. This was the fastest transmission of COVID-19 so far reported. The culprit was a mutant strain named the Delta variant by WHO in May 2021. The most infections of all currently known COVID-19 variants, it was first identified in Maharashtra, India in October 2020. In less than half a year, the Delta variant had spread to more than 90 countries across the world. What's worse, tests showed the Delta variant's viral load to be 1,260 times higher than the original strain. It was failure to develop sufficient herd immunity on a global level that enabled the Delta variant to emerge and trigger a new pandemic wave. Then, just 1 month after the incident in Dongguan, a case was confirmed in Beijing. Fortunately, Pang Xinghuo, gatekeeper of the pandemic in Beijing, was on hand. Epidemic prevention measures were instantly in motion.
非常警觉，赶紧派人去现场。另外还要做密切接触者的一个追踪，迅速确定了一个后面的一个调查方案。
Emergency epidemiological investigation identified the source of the infection and placed close contacts under collective quarantine. Thanks to the timely measures and the comprehensive implementation of the vaccine program, the outbreak took less than 2 weeks to extinguish. But nipping the outbreak in the bud was no reason for Pang Xinghua to slack off. How to make the prevention and control system even better?
学校这么一高风险区吧，如果空间够密，比如是在一密闭空间，你就这个期间就戴口罩，就这个叫精准防控。我精准到某一个地儿，我不用你全都戴口罩。
Pang Xinghua accordingly adjusted the areas and levels of targeted prevention and control.
但是前提是接种过疫苗了，所以你接种疫苗率是足够高，入境你就不用隔离那么长了。疫苗是对这个疾病一个特异的防控措施，所以它研制出来对我们防控这个疫情，控制疫情的传播是非常有效的。从现在目前的数据来看，我们也看到了这一点，看到了它的成效。
As of 12th, 2021, the situation in Beijing stood as follows. 37,818,900 doses out of a national total of 1.8 billion. Meanwhile, more than 4.3 billion vaccine doses had been administered globally. But with the war against the pandemic being complicated by the emergence of mutant strains, the already world-beating pace of vaccination had to step up even more. According to a study carried out by the Technion Israel Institute of Technology, for every 20% increase in vaccinated people, the rate of positive tests in unvaccinated population showed a 2-fold decrease. Studies also showed that in the UK, between January and September 2021, the risk of death involving COVID-19 was 32 times higher in the unvaccinated population than in the fully vaccinated population.
如果让这个疾病蔓延下去的话，其实这个病毒变异呢就会增大。那么这个时候呢，就要给他周围的人呢来接种这个疫苗。这样的话呢，建立起来免疫屏障之后，那么我们就把这个火呢就等于控制住了。
But there's nothing easy about keeping the COVID-19 pandemic in check. For one thing, keeping pace with the dramatic increase in demand for vaccine has challenged the productive capacities of all countries. At the height of the pandemic, US pharmaceutical giant Pfizer announced that it would scale down supplies of vaccine to the EU. Meanwhile, British company AstraZeneca signalled its intention to reduce vaccine doses delivered to the EU to about 40% of the original projected target. Like other countries, China also needed to satisfy domestic demand whilst meeting its international assistance obligations. This created a situation whereby vaccines were administered almost as soon as they were produced. Virtually nothing was held in reserve.
灭活疫苗得做到50亿剂以上，我们这个疫苗行业里面天文数字。
知道中国有14亿人，那如果我们每一个人都需要疫苗的话，将是个巨大的产量。
From building the world's largest production plant for inactivated COVID-19 vaccine in 60 days, to setting up fully automated production lines capable of producing 2,000 doses of vaccine a minute, to building vaccine stock solution bases in 15 countries, China's vaccine production has gone from strength to strength. But projected capacity is one thing, actual production quite another. Overcoming this gap has been the supreme challenge for each and every vaccine producer.
要不咱们出来吃饭可以再早点了，尽量让大家12点之前、12点半之前都吃上饭。
Since China ramped up vaccine production in January 2021, Wang Shui-sung and his colleagues have been working around the clock. To give themselves a welcome break from the stresses and strains of the day, they've agreed not to talk about work during their lunch break. But that's easier said than done.
那个刚才那个子健发那个，我把他那个转给你了，你看一眼，是比较着急，是5月10号要入库，包材不够，剩30多万。这是一个完全的一个突发的一个情况。
The emergence of COVID-19 community transmission triggered a new outbreak in a foreign city with a population of 10 million, over 1,000 new confirmed cases in a single day. That's led to a surge in demand for the vaccine. For Wang Shuisong, that means 48 hours to fulfill an order of 20 million doses.
我们指标任务来了。 我们一直也是秉持着这种质量为先、质量大于一切的这种质量这种态度来完成我们现在所有的疫苗生产。
According to the good manufacturing practice of drugs, vaccine production work areas must not contain more than 20 dust particles larger than 0.5 micrometers for every cubic meter of air. Furthermore, to make sure dust particles in the air do not contaminate the vaccine, staff must avoid moving with excessive force and speed. Fortunately, the aseptic filling facility for the COVID-19 vaccine has been fully automated. 16 hoses simultaneously inject vaccine solution into the borosilicate glass vials, enabling production of up to 600 doses of vaccine per minute.
无菌灌装这一块来讲，就是如果我们不是在一个很严格的条件下去完成了这个工作，那么产品的本身如果它被污染了，那它打到一个人的身上，那就是一个重症。
Once the vaccine is in the specially made borosilicate glass vials, production staff will check the vaccine several times. The automatic light inspection machine is critical to this process. Each vial of vaccine is inspected by the machine to make sure there are no foreign objects larger than 50 micrometers, which is only half the thickness of an ordinary A4 paper.
而这批这个任务还是比较紧急的，可能明天就要交货，所以今天就把它给倒过来了。
Once inspected and certified, the vaccine can then proceed to the final step of the production phase, packaging. Each dose of vaccine has its own QR code that carries information such as production date and vaccine number. This way, each dose of vaccine can be traced back to its source. After many days of non-stop effort, Wang Shuisong and his colleagues have completed the order of 20 million doses on schedule. With the hope that humanity can win the battle against COVID-19, vaccine production lines have been working around the clock. That means everyone on the line is dealing with a huge workload.
就是我们现在真正要做的，就是要把这个事业进行下去。这就是为什么我在这儿能做了15年。其实每次遇到挫折的时候，脑子里边都会想，哎呀，我可能要坚持不下去了。但是到最后，我发现第二天早上起来能起来，爬起来能上班，那么这一天的时间我都要交给这个工作。
Dozens of vaccine manufacturers in China have now stepped up production. From tens of millions to hundreds of millions, the production of COVID-19 vaccines keeps on increasing.
这是我们这个公司整体，它是在2010年就建成的一个园区。
On May 26, 2021, the ambassador of Argentina to China paid a visit to the Beijing Institute of Biological Products, which is affiliated with Sinopharm. As the first vaccine manufacturer to build a COVID-19 vaccine production line, Sinopharm is renowned for its production capacity, reliability, and high quality. In fact, it's just the partner Argentina is looking for in its fight against the pandemic. 5 days later, an event demonstrating China's commitment to treating vaccines as a global public good was officially announced at Beijing Institute of Biological Products.
今天我们在此见证一个重要的事情：北京生物制品研究所首批供应科威斯的新冠疫苗下线。
China joining COVAX and WHO approving the Sinopharm inactivated COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use are two moves that bring with them great responsibility. Sinopharm worked tirelessly to increase COVID-19 vaccine production capacity. Within 15 months after the completion of the first production facility on April 15, 2020, the second and third inactivated vaccine production facilities were completed at an astonishing speed, each step bringing the dream of equitable global vaccine distribution closer to realization. Nonetheless, global data showed a huge gap between vaccine production and demand. As of April 2021, only 780 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines had been administered globally, while 2.5 billion people had yet to be vaccinated at all. To build an immunity barrier for all humanity, the situation remained dire.
We are going out for the 18 to 45 years of age.
I haven't been vaccinated.
So I think अचानक से एकदम surge हुआ जैसे इस फंड के.
In the face of the threat posed by this invisible enemy, someone needed to stand up and lead the charge in the fight against COVID-19. As early as October 8, 2020, China announced its official participation in COVAX. In 2021, China pledged to provide 2 billion doses of vaccine for the world within the year, lighting a beacon of life for countries heavily hit by the pandemic. In today's globalized world, no country or region can safely stand alone in the battle against COVID-19. From the end of the epidemic in Wuhan to November 2021, China has suffered more than 30 local cluster outbreaks, all caused by imported cases. So, how to create an immunity barrier for all of humanity by means of the vaccine? The Chinese government and researchers are working ceaselessly to develop reliable and effective vaccines against COVID-19 and are committed to sharing the vaccines with the world to build a global community of health for all. By the beginning of 2021, the Phase 3 clinical trial had been completed, clearing the way for the rollout of the China-manufactured inactivated vaccine locally.
他们说的所有东西都是中国制造的，中国疫苗也绝对不会错。
In February 2021, the vaccine from China arrived in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, the first batch of vaccine aid provided by the Chinese government to foreign countries.
Once again, you have demonstrated that our friendship is an all-weather tested friendship. We've always stood with each other through thick and thin in difficult times, and this is a difficult time.
习近平总书记从一开始就指出说，疫苗是国际公共产品。世卫组织也一直倡导，在疫苗的问题上，专利也好，产权也好，就号召大家要把这个放弃，大家一定要联合起来，不光是中国人民联合起来，全世界人民要联合起来。
Beautiful Belgrade, and an even more beautiful birthday gift.
Ja sam danas uputio posebno pismo, jer mnogo toga očekujemo i najveće nade polažemo u jedine koji mogu da nam pomognu. U ovoj teškoj situaciji to je Narodna Republika Kina.
Faced with thousands of confirmed cases per day at the peak and more than 50,000 cumulative cases, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić turned to China for help on March 15, 2020. The call for assistance received, China leapt into action. Within just 9 days, medical supplies such as masks and nucleic acid testing reagents were winging their way to Serbia, together with a team of epidemic prevention experts ready to offer additional emergency support. After 82 days' support from 2 expert teams, a vast quantity of epidemic prevention supplies, and tens of millions of doses of vaccine aid, the situation in Serbia was alleviated. On March 5, 2021, a batch of 500,000 doses of vaccine was handed over to Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić, which just happened to be his 51st birthday. In fact, this was the third batch of vaccine provided by China in just 2 months. By mid-2021, more than 800,000 people in Serbia had received 2 doses of the vaccine.
We are the first country in Europe that is getting such a huge quantity of vaccines, and I'm proud that as a president of Serbia, we succeeded to get 1 million doses for 500,000 people, which is a big part of our population, and it will save a lot of people's lives.
But the path to building a global community of health for all never did run smooth. Breaking through the bottleneck of vaccine production capacity, for example, highlighted another huge problem: how to get large quantities of vaccine where they are needed, safely and on time. The storage and transport of COVID-19 vaccines have very strict requirements with regard to temperature. Keeping vaccines at a constant temperature over long distances is a challenge vaccine producers the world over have to address. Storage and transportation requirements for the various COVID-19 vaccines produced worldwide differ. For example, the storage temperature of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is -20 degrees Celsius, while that for the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine is mind-boggling -70 degrees Celsius. By contrast, China's inactivated vaccines can be stored at temperatures as high as 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Though the storage and transportation requirements for China's inactivated vaccine are relatively undemanding, it has been a monumental challenge to put in place the storage and transport technology, yet China has succeeded in creating a supply chain that holds good even in countries where climate and transport conditions are far from ideal.
Hello， 看我是谁，宝贝儿？我妈妈也不想你。为什么这么说？
Chu Zhege is a specialist in vaccine transportation. Ever since storage and transport of the COVID-19 vaccine began, he's been more or less living in this storage facility. At 10 p.m., Chu Zhege finishes his work and decides to go home. But just as he's on his way home, he receives a new assignment.
是今天晚上必须走吗？
Due to the international flight adjustment, a batch of the vaccine due to be sent to Azerbaijan and Botswana has to be dispatched tonight. At this juncture, all Chu Zhege and his colleagues can do is knuckle down and do their level best to squeeze several days' work into a few hours.
叶聪，来，到空气库找面服，拿面服。
Entering COVID-19 vaccine cold storage is like entering another world. Here, a constant low temperature is maintained, just the right temperature to keep tens of millions of doses of vaccine in tip-top condition. Currently, the internationally accepted storage temperature for vaccines is 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Beyond this temperature range, the effectiveness of vaccines rapidly decreases, perhaps becoming entirely ineffective. According to WHO statistics for 2019, nearly 50% of vaccines worldwide were wasted that year due to improper storage temperature.
只要进入我们冷库，我们还是要保证它在每一个点、每1分钟、每1秒钟都要在2到8度这个范围。
The temperature range of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius is a red line for inactivated vaccines. There's no room whatsoever for error. Tonight, Chu Zhege has to get vaccine doses that have just come off the production line into cold storage without delay. Next, they'll be packed and sent out according to the strict standards of pharmaceutical cold chain transport.
我们的质量要大于天，其实这整个一个过程就是一个最难的过程。运往国际呢是有几种方案和办法，怎么去保住它的产品温度，还是在2到8这个范围， 是一种呢，就是我们把托盘推到那个箱子里，那个呢叫主动制冷形式，就是它是内部有电池，有电量，它可以自己像冰箱一样，去维持空间那个2到8的环境。
Active cooling means putting the vaccine in thermostat containers. But in the face of this global pandemic, the number of thermostat containers cannot meet the demand for vaccine transport, so the manufacturers have to opt for passive cooling.
它其实在冷库里边就已经把包装都打好了，它可以在外界40多度的高温持续下，能放到3到5天。
Passive cooling does not control the temperature as well as active cooling, so the technicians need to make technical improvements to the core component of passive cooling, the ice pack. With an ice pack capable of remaining frozen at 5 degrees Celsius, vaccines can be maintained at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for a long time.
你没看它在打包的时候，它每一个箱子里会放一个温度计，去监测它的变化。就是说，它一定要在相变之前把这个我们的产品保护好，装进去之后封住之后，然后它在整个环境里边，它的变化就会很小。
This device monitors the temperature inside the container throughout the entire process, allowing customers to read the temperature changes during cold chain transport on receipt of the vaccine. Thanks to these measures, the vaccine is maintained at a safe temperature all the way through the journey. After a sleepless night, the work is finally completed. It is an unwritten rule for Chu Zhege's team to rest together in the office after working late at night.
实际上原来是想回家的，但是后来有一次呢，就选择不回家，是因为回家的时候，然后我就跟我的同事在讲，我说我怎么感觉今天风这么大呢？我说感觉路灯在晃。他说曲哥，咱不走了，说路灯没在晃。那个时候其实就是你的视觉就有点模糊的感觉。为了安全起见，说这个时间段我们就不回了。
The main thing is that the work has been done and the batch of vaccine is on its way to the client. Now, after 20 days away from home, maybe he'll finally get to spend some time with his family.
至于值不值得呢？大家自己心里都有杆秤。
People inevitably face choices in life. Large or small, country or home, giving or taking, there are always people who choose to do the former, to take the more difficult path. As of June 4th, 2021, China had provided vaccine aid to more than 80 countries and 3 international organizations through both direct cooperation and international organizations, and exported vaccines to more than 40 countries, totaling 350 million doses, and had conducted technology transfer and cooperative production with more than 10 developing countries, including Egypt and the United Arab Emirates.
Pessoal, ao lado do Jean Gorenstein, secretário da Saúde do Estado de São Paulo.
We're sure that it is safe and also good efficacy. We are confident in that.
Yo tengo confianza de que esto es serio, no solamente la vacuna, sino la intención de que la gente realmente se mantenga.
那这些数字都表明，其实中国的新冠疫苗研究与生产和投入使用是与全世界50个国家和世界卫生组织这样的国际组织合作的结果。
So I think the entire process, we receive a lot of thanks and also appreciations from the different countries, and even whenever there is a lot of vaccines reach in that country, no matter the president will go to the airport to receive it, they will put their national flag into the environtenner, which is the box of taking the vaccines. So everyone's are seeing the vaccine like a hope.
所以我相信，我们的企业给全球各国提供的疫苗产品的有效性、安全性是有保障的，可及性也是保障的，同时可担负性也是可以有保障的，最终就体现了习总书记提出的全球公共产品的要求。
In mid-April 2021, more than 30 provinces and cities in China began to fully implement vaccination against COVID-19. As one of the first cities to begin the vaccination process, Beijing opened up the vaccination program to foreigners. Ebodi is from Indonesia and is a second-year student at the School of Traffic and Transportation of Beijing Jiaotong University. After being informed that the school was going to arrange for them to receive the COVID-19 vaccine in a few days, Ebodi, who knew little about the vaccine, asked his mother, a nurse in Indonesia, about what to do before the vaccination.
Ibu saya tahu karena vaksin dari Indonesia adalah Sinovac dan kami juga menggunakan Sinovac, artinya juga sudah terpercaya vaksin ini.
Vaccinating local people with the vaccine produced in China is Ebodi's mother's daily job. A few months ago, the inactivated COVID-19 vaccine produced by Sinovac Biotech officially passed Phase 3 clinical trials in Indonesia and has since been shipped there in a steady stream. As of June 2021, nearly 100 million local people had been vaccinated. In the face of the Delta variant, the inactivated vaccine produced in China has become a symbol of health and hope.
Kita tahu bahwa persentase setelah divaksin COVID menurun dan jangan takut untuk divaksin karena bapak saya itu tuh diberikan vaksin oleh ibu saya karena gimana ya? Mungkin hal yang romantis ya bagi sepasang suami istri karena ibu saya memberikan sebuah foto dan saya rasa wah bagus sekali gitu ya. Ibu saya ya bahagia aja. Ibu saya bisa memberikan vaksin kepada bapak gitu, pada ayah saya.
After listening to his mother's advice, Ebodi prepared himself and joined his classmates as they received the inactivated COVID-19 vaccine. Despite being 5,000 kilometers apart, the vaccine from China is protecting his mother and her child, and also guarding the health and life of countless others around the world.
我昨天晚上已经聊了，就是明天要打疫苗，然后我妈妈就是给我鼓励吧。
Other people from my country that are in other universities, they also get vaccinated. They also post like, I already got my vaccine, like that.
Saya nyanyi lagu itu ya karena ini untuk apa ya? Mengobati apa kondisi di dunia ini ya, di dunia ini juga rasanya COVID itu nggak berhenti rasanya nggak berhenti dan saya harap dunia ini baik, menjadi lebih baik gitu ya. Dunia ini bebas dengan COVID, artinya health world adalah sembuhkan dunia ini gitu ya gitu.
By July 21st, 2021, more than 300,000 foreigners in China had received more than 500,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. This number continues to grow every day.
A lot of my friends in China, I think most of them have already got it done. I wanted to get it done like a month ago.
No problem. I'm very happy. I know this vaccination is very good.
That are people dying. If you care enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me.
But though humanity is eager to eradicate the virus will be equally determined to survive. While the world has been busy building up its lines of defense for more than a year, the virus has been working equally tirelessly, mutating at an increasingly rapid rate and growing more cunning. As of August 14, 2021, the cumulative number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 worldwide had exceeded 205 million and cost the lives of more than 4.33 million people. This tests not only our epidemic prevention systems, but also the effectiveness of vaccines. The battle between the global scientific community and COVID-19 has now entered a new phase. In August 2021, Chen Hongyou detected a suspected new virus strain in the COVID-19 sample urgently sent from Pudong New Area.
这些疑难的，我们叫疑难杂症，他会把这些标本也会送到我们上海市疾控进行一个确认。
Once a suspected mutant strain is found, the CDC must immediately conduct tests to confirm its status. After that, they must work around the clock to obtain the virus's genome. After gene sequencing, Chen Hongyou found different geni loci, setting alarm bells ringing in his mind.
新增加了2个突变嘛，那么这种突变呢，我们就要人工去介入一下，看看到底是不是我们测到的菌株确实是增加了2个突变，还是说因为算法的问题。
In accordance with the national requirements for surveillance of the COVID-19 vaccines, Chen Hongyou immediately sent the sample to the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Beijing for further analysis.
"第一个大部分就对疫苗的影响，它的变异会对疫苗有什么影响？我们实时在做。第二个部分，我们诊断试剂有什么影响？那我们还有一波人对治疗性抗体，也有大家说研究新的这样治疗性抗体。
我们都要将来要分离这些毒株，然后作为一个资源进行一个储备，用它来分析、评估诊断试剂、评估这个疫苗。 评估药物，
中国90%几都是用全病毒灭活的疫苗，它是有一个肯定的保护作用。
As the global immunity barrier continues to strengthen, and with the successful development of both specific drugs for treating COVID-19 and new vaccines against mutant strains, humanity is witnessing the dawn of victory in its battle against COVID-19. Viruses existed on this planet long before human beings came along. It was not until the first vaccine was created 225 years ago that mankind finally found a powerful weapon against viruses. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has been raging for nearly 2 years, bringing with it death and pain, it is our good fortune that researchers and whole countries continue to uphold the spirit of science that is the source of hope for all of humanity. In this invisible battle against COVID-19, China is using vaccines to give more people around the world hope for the future. China is committed to continuing to apply innovative technologies to build protective barriers and put into practice the idea of the community of common destiny for mankind. Just as every winter passes, spring will eventually come.
我觉得传染病不是一个国家的，这是谁也挡不住的，我们都在其中。
共享呢，就意味着我们全球可以共同来面对这个疫情。
对于我们来说呢，我们是把科学家的智慧。 就贡献给了社会，这个是第一时间的。
共同去防御，携手共进才行。所以这是一个人类命运共同体，
使我们人类命运共同体在人类健康共同体的基础上进一步的构建。这我相信，任何国家、任何民族、任何宗教都会推崇的一个最崇高的目标。
如果人类不共享疫苗，病毒将共享。 共有世界。
无论是在抗疫，无论是在复工复产，无论是在疫苗研发方面，我想真的都体现了一个人类命运共同体的理念。全世界人民的眼睛都看到了。